This week in comic books, Night Terrors gives us good writing and it gave us bad writing at the same time. And some real tragic stuff and some real shallow stuff at the same time. And I want to break those two things down for you. Also, something I'm going to break down this week in Fantastic Four, we get a little glimpse of physics. Not new physics, old physics, Einstein physics. And I'm going to break it down with you as best I can. I need your help to see if this makes any sense. And in Independence, we get Sacrifice, where the mind thrives. Independence, Sacrifice, the comic book breaks your heart. So we're going to break those down and a few others, but this is YouTube, so I got to try to sell you something real quick. So check this out. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. All right, you wonderful weirdos, we're back. It's a new comic book week. We got some good stuff and some good examples this week. So let's break it down with DC first. We're going to talk about Batman and Night Terrors. So as you know, Batman went through a traumatic event. Watched his parents die. Was in the alley with him 90 minutes while they just slowly passed away. And we learned that this isn't something that should bring him sorrow. This is something that gives him the gift, to remind him that the life that he has now is super important, which Insomnia didn't really want him to learn that. He was looking for something else. But it's always great to have a little self-discovery and know that things that are bad that have happened to you can also kind of chisel you and make you stronger. And I think Batman in Night Terror #2 really kind of sunk that home. Another little odd thing that happened this week that I found pretty entertaining, believe it or not, was the ridiculous Joker story #2 in Night Terror. In this one, again, this mundane life that the Joker's being forced to live in here, and he seems to be doing okay in it, as long as there's some elements of his personality that are allowed to shine, like, stabbing somebody a lot. But even with that said, when everybody starts waking up from their night terror, Joker's like, I'm going to go back to sleep. Because in this dream world, he has a wife, he has a child, as morbid and weird as they look. He kind of just has a normal life, which is something I don't really think we get a whole lot of the Joker. You can argue that Jack Napier stuff, before he was the Joker, but I would even argue that just means that some of that's still inside of him in some way, in some little orb part of his brain, it's still there. Something I didn't particularly like this week, because they did the trope that I don't like in comic books. Unfortunately, they brought it to Night Terrors and Poison Ivy. So Poison Ivy, again, has to live a mundane life and then realizes that, no, this isn't mundane. I do not like this life. It's too perfect, and I have to sacrifice the things that I want. This comes a veil when Harley Quinn decides to kill some weeds, and then there's some speech like they do more for the environment than grass does, which is not accurate at all. But what kind of turns me off about this is if your character's doing good, bad, whatever, right? They don't need constant self-adulation in it, meaning Jenny from HR, a random character in here, has to constantly compliment her. She has to constantly be complimented, constantly reassured, constantly, which tells me that she's super shallow and that there's nothing deep down inside Poison Ivy. And they've done this with Poison Ivy for a while now, and I find it really annoying. It's just a book of compliments that she just can't see. So I didn't much care for that. But before you start calling me a misogynist and telling me how much you hate me, let me tell you what a good independent woman character looks like. And Radinger just hit it out of the park. I don't know much about this character, but I was absolutely first, the tone of this book, very horror vibe, much more than the other ones. But in this, we get a character that has to go through being chased by monsters, having to deal with her past with her father, who I learned was actually Deathstroke, who's trying to come back. And apparently there was a very disruptive family there. toxic almost, right? But in this one, she just gets it done and encourages mostly her sister in this kind of dream world who has turned into a monster. But after talking to her and reassuring her that you don't have to be this monster, you don't have to be this person. Good people do good things to other people. They don't need constant gratification or verbal acknowledgement from it. So that's the two differences in this book. You can tell me that this is a strong, independent woman, but apparently she needs a lot of compliments and motivation to get things done. One just knows what to do. I don't know. It's crazy. All right, moving on with more DC stuff. We got Peacemaker Tries Hard. This is just fun. If you like the TV show on HBO, you really, really, really should jump into this. So, a reintroduction to an old villain and comes back into this one too. So, Peacemaker teams up with the Red Beak, his parole officer, and they're going to go get his dog, right? They're going to go John Wick that. Right? They're going to go get the dog, who he affectionately calls Bruce Wayne. And then they run into a character from back in the day named Snowflame. If you don't know who Snowflame is, he's a villain that derives his powers from cocaine, right? He bumps the old booger sugar and then starts his little boogaloo stuff, right? And of course, they battle him. He's like the first one before they get to like the Brain and the Big Boss and all those guys, right? It's kind of like a video game, right? There's levels to it. The camaraderie, the dialogue in this, the artwork in it, all screams, hey, we're just having fun with these characters, and we hope you enjoy it. And I'll tell you right now, I have been. It is a blast to read, because it's just kind of meta in its own way. But for the most part, I've absolutely enjoyed it, and I recommend it. Next, one of my favorite characters, and I mean that kind of sarcastically, City Boy. So yeah, City Boy, Superman shows up, and again, for anybody that does anything new for the first time, it's always good to have a teacher, a mentor, an instructor, or just a friend that has experience in it. And now that our character City Boy doesn't know what to do with these powers or how they should work, who else better to teach him than Superman? Superman shows up, kind of gives him the old hero speech, right? Hey, just do the best you can. Can't save everybody. Just do the best you can. As they try to fight the city, right? Or the essence of the city, I guess is the best way to put it. They did clarify one thing in here that I've constantly been questioning. Is the city thing just kind of follow him around, or does each city have its own like essence to it or spirit to it? They confirm that each city has its own thing to it, right? So if he goes someplace else, he's dealing with, Chicago, right? Chicago has its magical woo-woo sense about it that he can tap into and control and work with. And then he goes to Dallas, and that's the Dallas one, right? So they all have different personalities, which makes sense. Because if you look at a geographical map and point at different cities, people believe and do different things there. So I really like that. You scream diversity, and then you actually show it to us geographically and, of course, with people. I'm on board with that. I absolutely agree with that 100. I wonder what the one for Norfolk, Virginia would act and work like. Or even Richmond, Virginia. Or just any. Virginia cities never really make it into comic books. It's always talk about Langley, right? That's Hampton, Newport News area. Nobody cares about that area. All right, moving on. Smartest book this week. Smartest series I've been reading so far. Fantastic Four. This is number 10. And in here we play with a concept of space-time. So I'm going to explain this to you. So, there's a ship. It's traveling through space. The vastness of space, far away from Earth. And what it has to do is take a group of people that are fleeing a planet. It's always fleeing a planet. That is, of course, being destroyed. But on it, it runs into some problems. And then they start seeing things like the Fantastic Four popping up everywhere. And the question is they don't see them consistently. They're like moving super fast, but their time frame, they see them within 100 years, because there's like 400 years that pass This is hard to explain, right? But things keep happening. They keep seeing images of the Fantastic Four. Like at one point, the thing is breaking into the side ship. They don't know why. Somebody goes and attacks it. 100 years pass by. They see the Invisible Girl. 100 years pass by, right? So on and so forth for all four of them. Constantly seeing them as a threat because all they see is just little moments of time. That's going to be key. But their moments of time consist throughout 400 years, whereas the Fantastic Four that pops into this universe, it's a continuous story. They're constantly going through. So the question is are they like speedsters? Are they moving fast and this one's moving super slow? Are we got like a flash thing going on here? No. We're bending time and space. So I'll give you an example. Einstein once said that if you wanted to get from, this is space, and space is kind of curvature. The more mass that you have, right, the more it will bend around and shape around something, right? And if you could bend it, providing gravity, boop, 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 and then this distance right here, right, you could technically travel in time, right? Right there. What they did in Fantastic Four, which I found very smart, is instead of it being an equal amount of difference, what they did is they kept the shape here, and they moved Fantastic Four right about there. That would be about 400 years, so they had this kind of angle here. So they're moving faster in a span of time than are people traveling through space slowly. Does that make sense? Are you tracking that, right? If you want to travel time, you have to bend space-time, boom. You go directly to one point to another. If you want to speed that up, you just shift the curve a little bit. It's deep, I know. It's right, and I can't even call it woo-woo, right? Because I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say anything that Einstein ever did was woo-woo, but it could be a little deep, and I don't think they explained it in the comic book. I thought it was a great story though, and it's still probably some of the most intelligent writing that's going on out there. And it's easy to throw it up as woo-woo. Now, how did this happen? That's where the woo-woo comes in. Reed Richards has a machine that can pop them over there real quick. Just do it. Right? If you had to actually explain the machine, oh my God, like who's reading that, right? No, just, hey, super genius guy, makes a machine. All right? And then we space it out a little bit, space time, and then roll through it. I thought that was very interesting. I love this book and how smart it is. It is one of my favorite reads. I'm still on this. I'm going down this one. So much better than the last volume of Fantastic Four. Good stuff going on there. All right, let's finish up the rest of the books. I talked a lot on that one. All right, so next we got Dark Droids by Marvel. So they hinted on this story a while back in another Star Wars issue type of thing. And what's going on in here is we got basically a virus, right? It's a sentient virus. It does not follow the programming that droids follow, right? To serve and all this other stuff, right? It wants to eat, consume, right? And how does it eat and consume? By infecting other robots, essentially making a network, right, that can overthrow humans. They do this to an entire Star Destroyer, and now they're moving on to the Rebels to do it over there. So basically the machines are taking over. It's Terminator 2 in a nutshell, right? Right. Basic story. It makes sense that eventually this would happen in Star Wars given their advanced technology and all that, but for the most part, Star Wars stories have been kind of dry here lately for me. And I don't want to say that. Like, I love droids. I love the spaceships and the stuff and the different things they do in them, right? Love that stuff. But this is kind of, oh, we already know that. We already know how a virus works in a computer. I'm really about it. All right, next, Fire and Ice. Some of you may remember this was an actual animated series back in 1982. Definitely fact check me on that. And it's just like that. If you remember that animated series, if you like Frank Frazetta artwork, if you like those characters, I know the family was somewhat involved in this, but basically it's a dystopian fantasy, dark fantasy world where you have two elements, two kingdoms, if you will, the North and the South being fire, North being ice, right? And there's a little bit of a boogaloo that they're about to kick off. And unfortunately, the people that kind of live in the middle have to kind of deal with this kind of stuff. I thought this was written very well. Love the dialogue in it. Love the artwork in it. We have jungle females coming to save the day. And of course, we got our fire and ice barbarian. All that classic stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a bit of a nostalgia pill for me. I remember that. Mostly about the cartoon because the girl had big boobs running around. That's weird. All right. Last but not least, pick of the week, the Sacrificers. Oh, my Lord. This one hits you right there in the old feelings. Just right in the heart. Basically, we're kind of doing a let's go ahead and say kingdom right now because they haven't really explained it. And the rule of the land is, your son, right, your firstborn son has to go into servitude to the neighboring kingdom. That has to happen. We also get some magical stuff going on in here. I like the artwork in it. If you like Middle West, if you read Middle West or something along those lines, you would probably very much like this. I got a feeling it's going to turn out to be a quest type story. I think it's really great. I like this because they get the different kingdoms. You get to see how the higher ups live, the lowers, and it's all relatable, but it's done in fantastic artwork where everybody's like creatures, monsters, or elementals, or something along those lines. But yeah, it really hits you in the feelings, especially the first couple of pages of it, because it is just sad. It's so sad. If you read this, definitely let me know down below. And let me know what you thought of it. I think this is going to be one of those ones that I'm going to chase down like I did Middle West. I think so. I think this is going to be great. So that's my haul and review for this week. I don't have anything else. I'm working on a big project for hopefully the Evil Lair, but it's really for the competitive arts, the VA, I'm sorry, the Veterans Affairs Competitive Art Competition. Hopefully I can get my submission in. I have to get it done super quick, unfortunately, so I get to spend a little bit more time on editing before I release it, but we'll see what we can do. And as always, if you haven't checked out Evil Lair projects and builds, I just made the Sword of Omens. That's right, from Thundercats. And you are welcome. I just made that for Ignacio, so I hope hopefully he gets it. Argentina is a little different than the U.S. when it comes to these kind of things, but we'll see what happens. Other than that, I got nothing else, guys. I'll see you all next week. Bye.